A reading from the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 16. The crowd joined in and showed their hostility to Paul and Silas, so the magistrates had them stripped and ordered them to be flogged. They were given many lashes and then thrown into prison, and the jailer was told to keep a close watch on them. So following his instructions, he threw them into the inner prison and fastened their feet in the stocks. Late that night, Paul and Silas were praying and singing God's praises, while the other prisoners listened. Suddenly, there was an earthquake that shook the prison to its foundations. All the doors flew open and the chains fell from all the prisoners. When the jailer woke and saw the doors wide open, he drew his sword and was about to commit suicide, presuming that the prisoners had escaped. But Paul shouted at the top of his voice, "Don't do yourself any harm. We are all here." The jailer called for lights, then rushed in, threw himself trembling at the feet of Paul and Silas, and escorted them out, saying, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" They told him, "Become a believer in the Lord Jesus, and you will be saved, and your household too." Then they preached the word of the Lord to him and to all his family. Late as it was, he took them to wash their wounds, and was baptized then and there with all his household. Afterwards, he took them home and gave them a meal, and the whole family celebrated their conversion to believe in God. Today we continue to listen to another conversion story. And this time there are more spectacles and drama. But first, there should be a summary of how St. Paul and Silas ended up in jail. After the conversion of Lydia in Philippi, Paul and Silas cast out a demon from a slave girl who used to be a fortune teller. The owner of the slave girl, who now lost profit from soothsaying, had a grudge against the apostles and slandered Paul and Silas. Paul and Silas were beaten and jailed consequently. Now in prison, late at night, Paul and Silas are praying and singing hymns, and the prisoners are listening to them, but the jailer is asleep. A great earthquake shakes everything. These settings are very symbolic. The imprisoned apostles did not sleep, but were praying and singing. The other prisoners were somehow listening to them. By their prayers and singing in their great adversity, Paul and Silas evangelized the other prisoners. When everyone was released from shackles by the earthquake, no one attempted to escape the prison. They remained in prison. We may say everyone became the prisoners of Christ. But the jailer who was sleeping now is awake and falls into despair. He was a jailer, but actually he was a prisoner of his spiritual slumber. His spiritual slumber is now scattered by the earthquake, a wake-up call. But he does not know what to do. He attempts to kill himself. Once again, the voice of Paul and Silas saves this prisoner from despair. And the jailer asks, "What must I do to be saved?" from the disaster of an earthquake and the despair of his spirit, he cries out for salvation. And he and his household now receive the promise of salvation through baptism. The earthquake, a natural disaster, liberates true worshippers of Christ from shackles and wakes up those in false sense of security from their spiritual slumber. I wonder if this pandemic in our times becomes a wake-up call. The pandemic exposes how fragile our global civilization is. Especially Western societies realize there can occur wide-scale disasters to them. It seems that we believed we would be always safe because of modern civilization and the advancement in science. But all these are more like the Tower of Babel. And we realize how strongly we are bound by money. Many think money can do all things, but we see now money cannot keep us safe. People are pushed to work, even against risk and danger, because they need money. Children have to go to school because parents have to work. But what do we work for? It seems we work more for money itself than for our families. In the middle of the pandemic, we should ask the same question the jailer asked Paul and Silas. What must I do to be saved?